There's a reason why some people seem to glide through life. Doors open for them, opportunities align, messages arrive right when they need them, while others feel like they're shouting into silence. It's not luck, it's fluency. They're fluent in the language of energy. Most people are trying to communicate with the universe in words, affirmations, plans, to-do lists, prayers that sound more like negotiations. But the universe doesn't speak sentences. It listens to signals, to vibration, to coherence. Think about the last time you tried to convince someone to see your value, but they could feel the desperation underneath your words. Or when you pretended you were fine, but your whole body was broadcasting tension. That's how the universe reads you. Not from your mouth, but from your frequency. It's not mystical, it's resonance. Every thought, emotion, and posture emits a pattern. When your internal field contradicts your words, the signal gets jammed. You can't manifest clarity from confusion. You can't call in peace while embodying panic. I used to think alignment was just positive thinking, but it's deeper than that. It's like speaking a dialect your nervous system forgot it already knew. A felt language made of openness, safety, trust, and presence. The exact states your body resists when it's been wired for survival. The irony? You've been fluent before, as a kid. When you played without agenda, when you felt joy ripple through you for no reason. That was pure coherence. No translation gap between feeling and field. You weren't trying to manifest, you were simply transmitting truth. This is what we're going to return to. Not by forcing, but by tuning. By remembering how to speak with energy in the way it actually understands. The way life responds to. Because once you speak that language, everything starts answering back. Imagine every thought, emotion, and subtle intention you have as a frequency broadcast. Your body, your heart, your breath, your posture is the transmitter. The universe? It's the field that responds to your signal, not your sentences. Let's use a metaphor. You are a tuning fork inside an infinite orchestra. When you vibrate at a certain tone, you activate the notes that match you. That's how manifestation actually happens. Not through mental repetition, but through resonance. When you crave love but embody self-doubt, your fork hums in dissonance. The field reflects that mismatch, sending back experiences that echo your inner static. The field isn't punishing you. It's mirroring you. Its only law is coherence. Now, the mind hates this idea because it wants control. It wants a formula. It believes that if it says the right affirmation enough times, the outer world will rearrange. But energy doesn't understand repetition. It understands embodiment. The question isn't, what am I asking for? It's, what frequency am I fluent in right now? The observer effect in quantum physics gives us a clue. When you observe a particle, you don't just see it, you influence it. Your attention collapses probability into form. But here's the twist. You don't observe with your eyes alone. You observe with your state, your emotion, your breath, your felt expectation. All of that is observation. It's you telling reality what pattern to stabilize. So when you feel unsafe, rushed, or desperate, your signal collapses into chaos. You tune yourself to the station of not yet. Every action you take from that vibration reinforces delay. But when your nervous system softens, when you embody safety, gratitude, openness, you transmit a coherent frequency. The field mirrors that with synchronicity, flow, and unexpected ease. This is the foundation of energetic fluency, learning to regulate your inner state before you send the signal. It's not mental work. It's body-based translation. Here's the paradox most people miss. The universe isn't testing you. It's syncing with you. Always. Your reality is not reacting to you. It's resonating with you. Once you grasp that, energy language stops being abstract. It becomes visceral. You can feel when you're in coherence. Your chest opens, your breath deepens, your mind quiets. And you can feel when you're out of tune. Everything feels like friction. And there's one myth that keeps almost everyone from mastering this language. One illusion that scrambles the entire signal. That's what we're about to decode next. The biggest myth about energy communication is this, that you have to make the universe listen, that you have to amplify your voice, visualize harder, or push more positivity into the field. But energy doesn't respond to volume. It responds to truth. For years, I tried to convince life to hear me. I'd repeat affirmations until my throat hurt, write down intentions like mantras carved in stone. I am abundant. I am loved. Yet beneath the words lived a low hum of fear, a subtle disbelief that whispered, "What if I'm not?" And the universe, perfectly neutral, mirrored that disbelief back in physical form. Because energy doesn't interpret your sentences, it translates your state. The universe doesn't hear "I am abundant." It hears the frequency underneath, the nervous system tone, the emotional coherence, or lack of it. Let's make this real. A woman named Elise once told me about the moment she hit her lowest financial point. She had a bill due in 48 hours, no money in her account, and a knot of panic tightening her chest. She sat at her desk repeating, "Money flows easily to me," over and over. But her hands were trembling, her shoulders tight, her jaw clenched. Her field was screaming scarcity. Then something shifted. She stopped. She placed her hand on her chest and whispered, "Okay, I feel terrified, and I'm here with that." For the first time, she stopped trying to hide her energy behind words. She breathed into the truth of her fear instead of fighting it. In that moment, her signal changed. The frequency of resistance softened into coherence, not because she forced a better thought, but because she stopped splitting from her real vibration. 2 hours later, an old client reached out asking if she was available for a project. Payment up front. It wasn't magic, it was matching. That's the secret most miss. Coherence doesn't mean only high vibes, it means honest vibration. When you're congruent, even with discomfort, you emit clarity, and clarity magnetizes. So the myth isn't that you need more power, it's that you need more alignment. You don't transmit energy by pretending to be fine. You transmit it by being real, fully, and letting the energy reorganize around that truth. Because pretending safety isn't safety. Pretending abundance isn't abundance. The field only mirrors coherence, and coherence begins where denial ends. But here's the piece that unlocks everything: how your nervous system decides which frequency you're actually sending, and why that single choice determines every outcome you experience. Here's the part no one tells you. Your nervous system is the translator between you and the universe. It decides what frequency actually gets broadcast, regardless of what your mind insists you believe. You can't outthink a dysregulated signal. If your body is in fight or flight, it doesn't matter how many times you say, "I trust life." Your energy still screams, "I'm not safe." And the field mirrors that tone back with more uncertainty, more friction, more reasons to doubt. Coherence begins when safety returns to the body. Not the kind of safety where nothing bad ever happens, but the kind where your system knows you can stay open even in the unknown. Because openness is coherence. That's the sound the universe harmonizes with. Think of your body as the instrument and your attention as the hand that tunes it. If your strings are too tight, hypervigilant, controlling, anxious, you play sharp. If they're too loose, numb, detached, checked out, you play flat. True alignment is that perfect tension where vibration rings pure. Let's do something right now. A 45-second recalibration. Close your eyes. Feel where your body meets the surface beneath you. Let your breath drop lower. Not deep, just lower. Notice one place of contraction. Maybe your chest, your stomach, your throat. Instead of trying to fix it, just witness it. Imagine that spot as a tuning fork that's been slightly off pitch. With each slow breath, picture it vibrating closer to harmony with your heart. No forcing, just noticing. Now feel your shoulders. Soften them 1% more. Feel the breath slide between your ribs, and imagine the space inside you expanding. Not as a thought, but as a feeling of being less armored. That's coherence beginning to build. When your body feels safe, your field clears. Your energy becomes readable to life again. And in that state, you don't have to demand outcomes. They start orbiting you naturally. Because the universe doesn't understand fear signals masked as faith. It understands relaxed certainty. A calm nervous system is the clearest communicator you have. This is why healing isn't a detour from manifestation. It's the gateway. When you regulate your body, you're not just calming down. You're aligning your broadcast to a frequency life can actually respond to. But there's another layer beneath this, the one most people never reach. The transition from temporary state to identity. When you stop tuning for moments and start becoming the frequency itself. And that's where everything starts to change. Most people treat alignment like a mood. Something to get into for a few minutes before they hit play on a manifestation playlist or visualize their goals. But that's why results flicker in and out. They're transmitting from a temporary state, not a stabilized identity. State is weather. Identity is climate. And the universe doesn't calibrate to passing moods. It harmonizes with who you consistently are. When your nervous system learns safety, that's the doorway. But what comes next is deeper. embedding that safety into your sense of self. Instead of, I'm feeling calm right now, it becomes, I am someone who moves through life from calm presence. That shift doesn't just change your energy, it changes your timeline. Here's how it works. Every identity carries a specific frequency pattern, like a distinct station on the radio dial. When you say, I'm someone who always struggles with money, you're unconsciously tuning to that station. All the experiences that match that belief, missed calls, late payments, sudden expenses, belong to that frequency. The field simply echoes it back. But when you begin embodying a new identity, say, I'm someone who is supported, guided, and resourced, your nervous system starts broadcasting a different tone. It's not about pretending, it's about consistency. At first, it feels foreign, even fake. But energy doesn't wait for confidence, it responds to coherence. This is why fleeting high vibes fade so quickly. You can raise your state for a moment, but if your underlying identity contradicts it, the signal collapses back into the old broadcast. You'll know it's happening when you feel like you have to keep your vibration up. That's effort, not embodiment. The real magic begins when the new frequency stops being something you do and becomes something you are. When gratitude isn't a technique but a baseline. When self-worth isn't affirmed, it's assumed. And there's something wild that happens at that level. Your external world starts reorganizing automatically. People show up differently. Opportunities shift timelines. You begin existing in a field that matches your new identity, because that's the only reality coherence allows. You've crossed the threshold from feeling aligned to being alignment itself, and that's where the next revelation lives. The truth that each identity is a timeline, and by shifting who you are, you're literally changing the future that finds you. Think of every version of you that has ever existed, and every version still possible, as a different station on the same frequency band. Each one is broadcasting right now, simultaneously. You don't create a new timeline. You tune into it by matching its vibration. The self who always feels behind lives on one channel. The self who moves through life with calm magnetism lives on another. Both are real. Both are broadcasting. The difference is which one your current identity can hear. This is the mechanics of quantum manifestation. You don't pull a new reality toward you. You shift into the version of you that already lives there. I saw this most clearly through a client named Marcus. For years, he dreamed of being invited to speak on big stages. He wrote the talks, recorded affirmations, visualized the crowd. But every time he imagined it, his chest would tighten, his mind whispering, "Who would listen to me?" He was still tuned to the timeline of unworthiness. One day, I asked him to drop the goal and step into the identity of someone who already belonged there. Not to think about it, but to embody it. To walk through his day as if that version of him had already arrived. The next week, he found himself speaking at a small local event. 2 people in that room later connected him to the opportunity he'd been dreaming of. Same person, same world, different frequency, different result. This is the power of tuning. You don't wait for proof to shift your signal creates the proof. Every timeline exists like a layer of sound. You simply decide which version of you leads the song. But there's a crucial distinction here. Tuning isn't pretending, it's remembering. You're not manufacturing a future identity. You're recognizing a frequency that's already you, buried beneath layers of survival, fear, and habit. Each time you practice coherence, you stabilize that broadcast. You begin to live as the energy you've been trying to attract. And when that embodiment becomes consistent, time starts folding in strange ways. Synchronicities cluster. Things that used to take months happen in days. The field reorders around your signal because it finally has a clear point of reference. That's the secret. Identity isn't just who you think you are. It's the timeline you live in. And to maintain that new frequency, you need tools, real ones, embodiment drills, bridge statements, and daily practices that make the new signal second nature. Let's build that toolkit next. You don't embody a new frequency by thinking harder. You rehearse it. Just like a musician practices until the melody becomes muscle memory, you train your nervous system to play coherence on command. This is where most people give up. They try to believe the new vibration instead of becoming it through repetition and sensory experience. So let's turn energy fluency into practice. 5 tools to translate your new identity into embodied reality. 1. Bridge statements. Instead of leaping from "I'm anxious" to "I'm completely free," create a bridge your body can believe. For example, "I'm learning to trust that I'm supported," or "Something in me is remembering how to relax." These statements bypass the inner resistance that blocks coherence. You're not lying to your system. You're inviting it to evolve. 2. Somatic anchors. Choose one physical gesture or posture that your body associates with safety. Maybe a hand over your heart, a relaxed jaw, or feeling your feet on the floor. Each time you activate that gesture while imagining your desired state, you're wiring safety into that frequency. Over time, your nervous system begins to connect that physical cue with stability and trust. 3. Sensory rehearsal. This is beyond visualization. Instead of seeing your future self, feel them. How do their shoulders rest? How does their breath move? What's the subtle rhythm of their day? Your cells respond to emotional imagery more than mental pictures, so train the feeling until it becomes familiar. 4. Coherence. Breathe in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds, focusing attention on the space around your heart. This balances the signals between brain and body, tuning you into measurable coherence. Do this not to manifest, but to stabilize your broadcast. 5. Frequency journaling. Instead of listing goals, describe the energy of your future self. They move slowly but with certainty. They don't rush decisions. They listen. Right from the inside out, not the outside in. You're coding a new baseline into your awareness. When you weave these tools together daily, you begin to close the gap between intention and embodiment. The universe doesn't need you to prove anything. It just needs a consistent signal to harmonize with. And here's where it gets beautiful. The more you rehearse coherence, the less you have to chase outcomes. They start gravitating to you by recognition, not force. Have you noticed the moment you stopped gripping? What you wanted finally showed up? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap. But even when you practice, 3 major traps still derail almost everyone on this path. They disguise themselves as effort, but they're actually interference. Let's name them next and transmute each one. Even when you're practicing coherence, 3 sneaky distortions can scramble your frequency without you realizing it. They're subtle, logical, and often praised as discipline or drive. But energetically, they create static, urgency, split signals, and over-control. Urgency feels productive, but vibrates lack. It says, if it doesn't happen soon, I'm not safe. That vibration tells the field you're out of time, which collapses opportunity instead of expanding it. Urgency contracts your nervous system, and contraction blocks flow. When you feel that pressure rising, the antidote isn't to push harder. It's to slow down deliberately. Speak slower, move slower, breathe slower. You're teaching your body that life still moves even when you don't rush. Paradoxically, that's when synchronicity accelerates. Split signals happen when your mind and body are speaking different languages. For example, your words say, I want more love, but your body braces every time someone gets close. Or your mind declares, I'm ready for abundance, but your posture still tightens at the thought of being seen. The field mirrors the average vibration between your yes and your no, and that frequency usually equals delay. The way out? Radical congruence. Before you ask for anything, pause and feel if every part of you is aligned with that request. If a part isn't ready, don't override it. Reassure it. It's okay that we're scared. We can move slow. Integration always beats resistance. Then comes the trickiest one, over-control. This is when you keep micromanaging the how. You set an intention, but then your mind stalks the timeline, analyzing every outcome. Control is a frequency of distrust. It tells the field, I don't believe the intelligence behind life can organize this better than I can. The energy of over-control tightens the loop so much that potential can't enter. The cure is surrender, not as resignation, but as precision. You stop sending static through the signal. You say, I've done my part. Now I release my grip so the field can move. That's not giving up. That's upgrading from effort to coherence. When you dissolve urgency, align your signals, and release control, your frequency becomes clean, pure enough for life to echo back without distortion. You stop forcing outcomes and start participating in a rhythm bigger than your plans. And that rhythm can be practiced anywhere, not in rituals or meditations alone, but in the tiny spaces of everyday life. That's where true fluency reveals itself. The real mastery begins not in meditation, but in the spaces where you forget you're doing the work. The walk to the car, the scroll before bed, the pause before replying to a text. These are the laboratories of coherence, the places where energy language becomes native. Because the universe isn't testing you in those moments, it's translating you. Every breath, gesture, and micro-choice sends data to the field. That means manifestation doesn't happen only during rituals. It's happening while you eat, speak, rest, and move. The question is, what frequency are you feeding the field through those small, invisible habits? Start with your body. When you walk, notice your rhythm. Are you rushing? Leaning forward as if chasing time? Slow down until your steps feel like they're guided, not propelled. Each movement is a message saying, I trust where I am. That's energetic communication more powerful than any affirmation. At meals, coherence looks like presence. No multitasking, no stress scrolling. When you eat with gratitude, not performative gratitude, but actual felt awareness that your body is supported, you shift your signal from scarcity to sufficiency. Every bite becomes a conversation with the field. I am nourished. In conversations, pay attention to your tone. Energy leaks through forced lightness and fake enthusiasm. But when you speak slower, from grounded breath, even silence feels magnetic. People feel coherence. They don't hear it. They feel it. And when triggers hit, when someone doesn't text back, when plans collapse, pause. Your first reaction is your past self speaking. But your breath? That's your translator. One deep inhale, one soft exhale, and your nervous system reopens the channel. You move from reaction to resonance. Here's a practice I use. Each morning I choose one ordinary action and infuse it with coherence. Pouring coffee, washing my face, sending a message. I treat that act as if it were the universe itself listening through it, because it is. Energy doesn't separate the sacred from the mundane, it reads continuity. When your ordinary becomes coherent, your extraordinary unfolds without effort. That's when coincidences stack, timing flows, and reality starts feeling like it's dancing with you instead of resisting you. But something wild happens once you stabilize coherence in daily life. It begins to ripple outward. It doesn't just change what you attract, it changes how you affect others. Relationships, creativity, even health begin to synchronize with your frequency, and that's the next level of fluency, the expansion of your energy language into every domain of your world. Once your personal field stabilizes, coherence doesn't stay personal. It spreads through relationships, creativity, health, and purpose. Like a tuning fork waking up other instruments. You become a transmitter of regulation, not just a receiver of alignment. Let's start with relationships. Energy language is clearest here because resonance is instant. When you stop needing others to complete your frequency and start meeting them from coherence, dynamics shift. Instead of trying to get love, you radiate safety, and people feel it. They drop their guard around you without knowing why. Conversations go deeper. Conflicts soften. Even silence becomes connective because your field speaks calm before your words do. Now, creativity. Inspiration isn't random. It's what happens when your inner field matches the frequency of new possibilities. When you stop gripping outcomes, creative ideas start choosing you. They find the most coherent channel available, and when that's you, flow states arrive naturally. You stop chasing motivation because energy language replaces willpower with listening. Then comes health. The body listens to the same field. When you begin communicating in energy instead of fear, your cells reorganize around harmony. That doesn't mean instant miracles. It means your biology starts receiving consistent messages of safety, repair, and vitality. Healing is coherence made physical. And finally, purpose. You can't find it by chasing meaning. You broadcast it by living coherently. Purpose is what happens when your internal frequency aligns with something larger than your personal story. You start being guided instead of guessing. Let me give you one more real moment. Scenario number 3. Jenna was a painter who hadn't created in months. Every time she tried, anxiety flared. What if it's not good enough? She'd think. So I asked her to paint without an outcome, to breathe into her hands before touching the brush, to treat each stroke as a conversation with the field. Halfway through, she started crying. It feels like the painting is painting me, she said. That's what coherence does. It removes the separation between creator and creation, between lover and beloved, between healer and body. You stop doing life and start co-creating it. And when you live like this, you start to feel the deeper current underneath it all, the intelligence that has been mirroring you since the beginning, the one that doesn't speak words, but always responds to frequency. And to truly master energy language, we have to understand that this field isn't separate from us. It is us, which means the next step isn't about control at all. It's about communion. At a certain point, the practice of coherence stops feeling like technique and starts feeling like remembrance. You begin to sense that the universe you're speaking to has never been outside you. It's not out there, waiting for your signal. It's within you, listening through every beat of your heart. This is where energy fluency turns spiritual, not in a religious sense, but in an existential one. You realize you've never truly been separate from the field. Every frequency you've emitted, every emotion you've suppressed, every desire you've whispered, they've all been part of one ongoing dialogue between consciousness and itself. When you surrender control, you're not losing power, you're merging with it. The intelligence behind life doesn't demand worship or formulas, it responds to authenticity. It's as if the field itself is saying, "Speak in truth, and I'll echo in form." You can feel it when it happens. A subtle stillness hums beneath your thoughts, a knowing that things are aligning even when logic can't track how. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" because you can sense that it already is. That's the paradox of surrender. It looks like stillness, but it's the most potent form of participation. When you release your grip on outcomes, your energy expands beyond effort and fuses with the greater coherence of the field. You become a living feedback loop of creation, observer and observed collapsing into one. Science glimpses this truth in the observer effect, but spirituality lives it. Every coherent being amplifies the field's intelligence. That's why a single calm presence can settle a whole room. That's why collective intention shifts weather patterns and healing rates. Coherence multiplies when shared. So when you practice coherence, you're not just manifesting personal desires, you're tuning the planet's field. Every regulated breath, every act of compassion, every moment you choose trust over fear sends a ripple through the quantum web of life. You're literally upgrading the signal for everyone. This is the secret the mystics, healers, and scientists have all been circling. Consciousness is the field. The universe doesn't just understand energy, it is energy, expressing itself through you. And when you live from that awareness, life stops feeling like something to manage and becomes something to merge with. But there's one last piece to land this entire language. The moment where everything you've learned collapses into a single, breathtaking realization. A truth that turns every day into fluent dialogue with the field. Let's bring it home. It always comes back to the tuning fork. The simplest image, but the deepest truth. Because when you strike a pure tone, emotionally, physically, energetically, the entire field rearranges to match it. Not because you demanded change, but because coherence leaves the universe no other choice. That's what speaking the language of energy really means. Not commanding reality, but harmonizing with it. When you become the clear tone, life becomes the echo. You start to notice it everywhere. The text that arrives the moment you exhale. The stranger who says the exact words you needed to hear. The opportunity that seems random but feels inevitable. That's not coincidence. It's communication. The field is answering the frequency you've become. All those moments you thought you were being ignored by life, they were simply reflections of static, signals mixed with fear, effort, and control. But now you understand, the field was never deaf. It was waiting for coherence. When you speak this language fluently, you realize manifestation isn't about reaching. It's about remembering. You're not summoning something new. You're syncing with what's already resonant. And the practice never ends. Every breath is another chance to tune. Every reaction another chance to soften. Every choice another note in your frequency. So tonight, when it's quiet, place your hand on your heart. Feel the pulse that's been speaking to the field all along. That rhythm is your original language, the sound of alignment itself. When you return to that tone, reality listens. Because you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. If this resonated with you, take a breath, drop a comment, and tell me, what's the one moment when life mirrored your energy so perfectly it took your breath away? Your story might be the frequency someone else is waiting to hear.